What's going on? This is Chris with another video, and today we are talking about what I've been playing this week, beating the backlog, and today we have another game that I've beaten. So I got two games to talk about, mostly the former and a little bit of the latter. Um, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Now this is kind of a funny one because, at least in the time of filming this, the most recent release was me talking about starting Star Wars Force Unleashed 2 for the Xbox 360, and I just needed like a shut off your brain type of game. I might have even referenced this game by name. I had started it and played the first couple missions quite a while back before leading up to Christmas, and I was hoping I would have enough time in Christmas 24 to play it before and then and then play it afterwards. You know, thinking that there'd be enough time to kind of be cooped up on cold, snowy days and stuff like that, and play it on the TV in the bedroom, and where it could be nice and dark and experience like the cinematic flair of it. And while I did appreciate those first couple levels and the production value brought by Respawn, you know, I think this really ended up being a Portal game, which I'm sure is controversial to some, but I love my PlayStation Portal, and it's really made me beat more games. It was a big reason I beat Knack and Yakuza 0 this year. There's at least a couple other games that I wouldn't have beaten without the Portal. So yeah, this was one of them. You know, if I knew it was coming to the end of the level, I would try to play it on one of the big TVs in proper lighting. But yeah, it's an awesome, awesome game. I loved Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. It was also like my first Souls-like, and I took it super seriously. I was super frustrated at first, but like in terms of min-maxing on hard fights, when to, you know, harvest my life points back from enemy that defeated me, stuff like that. Like I had never experienced that. The backtracking I thought was really cool at the time, and how interconnected the level was. You know, in some ways this game is such an improvement in terms of gameplay and features, and the Assassin's Creed 1 to 2 in terms of like your weapon arsenal and the locomotion and everything, enemy variety. But you know, I really just thought it was so novel the first time around, and this is cool. It's a very solid game. I think it's somewhere between a 7.5 and an 8. The story started off so promising, and I was so curious to see if they would land the plane or the not the X-wing, not the TIE fighter. Jesus, I was saying X-fighter in my head. If they would land the X-wing, but you know, it's solid. You know, they're obviously setting it up to be a series, and in a lot of ways, it's actually very similar to Horizon Forbidden West to me, where it is seemingly better on all. That's actually an incredible comparison as a redheaded you know, a redheaded protagonist in a dystopian setting, and you know, very charismatic, and you know, kind of stumbling their way through the world in the first game. In the second game, they're kind of just like, the weight of the world is on my shoulders. I'm really pissed off. Like I liked Cal a lot more in this game than I did Aloy in Forbidden West, but it's actually a pretty good comparison. So, and it's also, they're two of the most stunning games I've ever seen in my entire life. The platforming is pretty solid. Every once in a while, some weird stuff where I'm not sure where I'm supposed to go, and you can hack into stuff and make your enemies like fight on your behalf, and you get a bunch of like really cool gadgets. So very similar to that, where I'm always gonna, even though I would prefer to play, if you put a controller in my hand, I'd prefer to play Forbidden West, and I would prefer to play Jedi Survivor here. The story and the novelness of the original games, especially, you know, Respawn being a first-person shooter studio, Guerrilla being a first-person shooting studio, prior to their respective, you know, third-person action. And I'm not as familiar with Respawn. I'm pretty sure Titanfall is like their big thing, and they're former Call of Duty devs. So both of them very surprising in terms of them popping onto the scene and being some of the best third-person action games of the last two generations. But yeah, and story was very well done. Incredible acting, great motion capture, great, yeah, no qualms. I liked the promise of the romantic relationship here. I like the side characters, even though some are a little bit eye-rolly. So a lot of comparisons to Horizon there as well. But, you know, a lot of things I would have done differently myself, and obviously that's kind of ridiculous to say as like some dude who, you know, is talking to about 60 people right now at most. So, but who knows? I liked it a lot, and the characters are all overall great. I just would have loved to see them kind of deliver a bit more than instead of this being a transitional story. And they were kind of setting it up like there was going to be a lot more um, payoff for like the things that they left unsaid. I don't need them to literally show me everything, but they reference Grease getting his arm chopped off, and I don't know if that was a side mission, but like, they reference all these things that happened when the group split up in the first game, and I don't know if I fucking missed something or if there was DLC, but like if you're gonna my whole thing with that is if you're gonna keep talking about it in the main story cutscenes, not even like background dialogue, just like the cutscenes are focused around this, I would have loved more payoff there instead of wait for the sequel, especially with there being a bunch of layoffs and stuff like that at Respawn. We'll see what happens, but um, what else? There was one other like big oh, uh, I'm not gonna spoil anything just in case you haven't played the game, but I will say what kicks off the third act in the main antagonist. This happens to me a lot as someone who like I have two parts of my brain. I have like the oh wow, like cool colors, like cool action, like the pre MCU Marvel movies where I used to think the first Fantastic Four movie kicked ass, or Blade, or whatever. I'm not saying they're not good movies, but they're dumb fun. I didn't know that X-Men X3 or X3 Last Stand was a bad movie because it had so many cool mutants in it, and so many different powers on display. And I never stopped to think like, what the fuck is going on in this movie? And it's very similar with with something that happens towards the end of this game, where I immediately was like, holy shit, I didn't see that coming. And then like I had to like I finished the mission and I had to go pick up the dog from daycare, and while I was sitting in traffic, I was like, what the fuck, like really kind of like trying to go back through the story and be like, oh, they must have been like, you would have think I would have suspected something at this point or at this point. And I'm like, I don't know how much fucking sense this makes at all. It's actually quite strange that's the choice that they made. So unfortunately it's one of those. I'm sure there's one of those in Horizon as well. There's a lot of those in video games where I'm like, just because there's a big twist doesn't necessarily mean it's like the best twist they could have made. So, yeah, I'm sure some folks would even be pissed to know that there's something that happens that's, unexpected in the game, but it's kind of how stories go. Uh, I would have loved to, oh, well, there's a lot of characters I would have loved to have more interactions with, just across the board. You get a lot of Cal and a lot of Cal talking about, stepping around what happened in the past to lead him to where he is, and you get the concept. I'm not dumb. I understand like the themes and like what happened like generally speaking, but I don't know, when you're spending like 20 to 30 hours with these characters, and I don't feel like I got a lot of Seer, and I don't feel like I got a lot of Grease chattering, but not a lot of like Grease development, and I got a lot of what's her name, I can't even remember her name, Russian witch lady. A lot of talking with her, but not a lot of things happening, other than some making out. But anyways, yeah, it's a really remarkable feat of gameplay. It's incredible in that regard. It's the best graphics I've ever seen. Great audio design. It's easily one of the best Star Wars games. I would put it head and shoulders above Force Unleashed 1, even though I have fond memories of it. And Force Unleashed 2, although I'm enjoying it a lot so far, I don't think it'll measure up in terms of a quality game. But like, is it more fun? Is it like more daring with the story? I guess it remains to be seen. So yeah, that's my experience with Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I wouldn't really call it a hard and fast review because I can't. I'm not gonna do like a full spoiler on this. I don't. I guess the one cool thing is the customizability. There was something that happened in the story that made me change Cal's outfit just to kind of reflect where the character would be headspace wise. I didn't unlock like a ponytail or a Jedi man bun or anything like that, but he had like a long middle part, so I made his hair really long and I made him wear like all black, and tried to kind of like bring out that that emotion in him, and it really paid off, especially in the cutscenes. Like the long hair, it made it seem like he always should have had that haircut. Because I tried giving him like different hair. They had an undercut, a buzz cut, and it didn't look right. Especially wouldn't have looked right in the cutscenes. But with the long hair, it really fit, and it was beautifully animated. So I don't know how many times, like how much work went into that, but I just wanted to say I appreciate that. The biggest corollary would be in Red Dead Redemption. I know Greg Miller tells a much better story than mine, but you can put on the bandana to kind of like hide your identity. And I always think things like that. Ghost of Tsushima is the best one, where you can kind of like, whip your sword and like clean the blood off, and you can bow and you can, solemnly play a flute. And I use that a lot for my own personal storytelling to myself, my audience of one, which is me, after like a formidable fight or something like that. And I do the same with like the way I put the lightsaber away, or the way I would, start with the big lightsaber and then bust it into the dual wields to kind of show he's. That's the thing too, is I change after a certain point in the story. I change completely from just the Excalibur or the normal single blade to the double blade, and change the lightsaber color. And I just thought that was like a really cool piece of storytelling that they let you do. So, anywho, that's all that. Yeah, great game, 8 out of 10. It's the 12th game I've beaten this year, I believe, and the 5th and final game I've beaten in the month of June. So, very exciting. I'll have, separate from this video, a mid-year check-in. A lot of folks on BookTube are doing that, and I just thought it'd be cool to kind of talk through. I don't think it would remotely spoil my end of the year video that I didn't even make last year. So I think it'd be cool to kind of talk through some of the games. I'll go through them in alphabetical order instead of ranking them, because that's still an exercise I like doing towards the end of the year, or I'll go in chronological when I beat them. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll just talk about a little bonus game. I'm going to try to narrow these videos down to like the one game I'm playing to make it easier for me to record and make it a little bit more palatable for whoever the hell stumbles across this. But Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is something I just need to deeply cleanse my palate. I was playing Jedi Survivor like 1 to 3 missions a day to try to kind of wrap it before my wedding and my honeymoon. So I wasn't going to bring my PS5 with me, and I just didn't want to bother bringing the Portal because I didn't know how reliable it would be. But Prince of Persia: Lost Crown is 2D, 2.5D, like beautiful artsy platformer. So I figured that would be pretty solid as a complete diversion from a third-person action game. And yeah, very early days, like maybe the first hour, got through the opening act. I don't even think I've paid off the opening yet, in terms of it's essentially still almost a tutorial, and I'm already getting lost, which is a little scary. But my first platinum this ever, and one of the games I beat this year was Tales of Kenzera Zhao. Absolutely love that, and it came out around the same time. And unfortunately, it's easy to kind of compare the two, because they're both like Afrofuturism type of Tales of Kenzera Zhao had a lot of Wakanda vibes, and this completely different part of the world, but in terms of the art style of having that the really bright colors around the character and stuff like that. The dash moves, like the different weapons you can use, the different specials you can use, the mask attacks, and some of the special attacks, the time powers of I don't remember his name. What the fuck's his name? Sargon, the Epic Adventure of Sargon. Oh my god. Yeah, it's an interesting one. So they came out at similar times. I got this at Christmas, Black Friday time of last year for really cheap, and I kind of wanted to just wait until a time like this where it'd be good. So I don't think I'm going to beat it necessarily right now, and I don't think I want to make it. In my head, I call it like my homework game or my vegetables game, where it's like I can play whatever later in the day. This is when I'm not doing like a system-based challenge or a play one game for however long challenge, or play a different game every day challenge. It's like, as long as I, play my 1 or 2 missions in Jedi, or if I play, I'll do this at some point. Definitely when I get back from the wedding. It hasn't worked super well on remote play on my backbone on my old phone, so. But it's cool nonetheless. The music's really great. The art has great production value for a 2D game, for sure. So, interested to see, but yeah, definitely don't expect a review of that anytime soon. I won't let it fall by the wayside, but it'll definitely be a pick up and play as needed. I'm not super worried about the story, although it is more interesting than I would have given it credit for off the rip. And from what I heard of the reviews when it first came out, I think they do some really cool stuff with time, I'll say, which obviously the Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, did a lot with time, etc., etc. So that's all for today's video. Thank you so much. I have quite a few more what I've been playings that are going to be coming out before and while I'm on my honeymoon in Hawaii, which is very exciting. So yeah, stay tuned for what I'll be playing when I'm on my honeymoon in Hawaii. I'm only bringing 2 systems with me, so stay tuned to see what games and systems I'll be playing while I'm there. And I'll be, like I said, doing my mid-year check-in with how many games I've beaten. So we're off to a pretty good clip. I was worried at the first couple months, but we'll talk about it. So thank you so much. I will catch you in the next one later.